Welcome to episode 9 of our lovely podcast, Guitars, Cameras, and Cars. And it's been a while. Matt, how have you been?
Been great. Yep, we're really summering, I think. It's been quite a while. I've played a gig since then, been to a bunch of concerts, and been dealing with lots of guitars and cameras and even some car stuff.
Well, I will fill in for the dealing with car stuff if you want to handle the guitars and cameras. And for those of you who are loyal fans or perhaps first-time fans, Matt and I met in person about a month-ish ago in lovely Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. I was there with GM doing a Super Cruise program, and I had some downtime, and I'm like, I know a guy in Dartmouth.
Yeah, and you literally parked 2 blocks away. That was great. Random meeting, and hopefully we've got something in the works for another meeting in the fall.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So with that, perhaps we should jump in on the guitar side, seeing as it is the first word of our podcast. And we're going to go with favorite uses of pedals. Matt, what do you got?
I lied to you, Jay.
Oh, no.
Because I have since purchased something. So we are going to put that topic into the next episode because I bought the Helix Stadium XL.
Yeah, you did. All right. So the beauty of owning your own podcast is you can make changes like this on the fly. All right. So
I have been withholding this for, well, now it's months, a month and a half, something like that.
I have so many questions. Okay, let's go with the easy questions. Of all the different competitors for that, why did you pick that one to buy?
Well, I got to back up because it was about a year ago that I bought the original floor Helix, knowing that this one was coming out. But the issue was that, one, there was no firm release date. They said the fall. And 2, what they had just kind of announced around that time was they pulled their user base, which, by the way, Line 6, especially with the Helix products, is very active with their users on Reddit, on Facebook groups, forums, and on social media. And so Helix users are used to getting firmware updates a couple times a year, adding features, refining things, fixing bugs. And so they pulled their user base and they said, do you want us to wait until basically all the headlighting features we've announced are done? Or do you want us to release it sooner and then add things as we go? The user base chose the latter. And I was like, I am not quote unquote upgrading to something that is basically a beta product and doesn't have the features that would make me upgrade. So I bought the original Helix floor, got a great deal on it, and it was absolutely fine. And we played a show between our last episode and this one. And it was, again, like I think I said the last time, that was the most fun I've ever played playing music. This took it to a whole other level.
Cool.
Absolutely packed. My parents came and they were dancing and singing along. It was hilarious. So definitely, like, top moments of my musical life, let alone my life.
Nice.
So we went away from that and we had a band meeting. We went out to dinner here in Dartmouth, and we just went over how the show went, how shows have been going. And one thing we talked about was using a click track. And we've talked about it before, but after watching some videos of the show, we were like, okay, we speed up a little bit, as most bands do when you play live. You get excited. And we are having fun, but we're also like serious about having fun. And we want to put on the best show that we can. And so we thought maybe we could try that. And by the way, if my drummer Carrie is listening, this is not the drummer's fault. We all play a major part in the speeding up.
So let me stop you there for a quick sec.
Sure.
If you do go with the click track, is it all of you that will have the click in your ear, or just the drummer?
It will be anyone who wants it. So I'll talk about the implementation of that in a minute. So that came up. And what's also been bubbling in the back of my mind is that we're a 4-piece. We do not have a synth player, keys player, whatever. And a lot of these songs have very important and memorable bits that are played on not a guitar.
Yeah.
Or they have like, a crazy drum sound that's like kind of impossible to do live without running an effect or something like that. And I've always thought it'd be cool if me or the drummer or whoever was able to trigger a sample or whatever, like just to take it to that next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had just looked back at the Helix because I am in a lot of those forums and all of that. And they had finally fleshed out pretty much all the major features. So first of all, right from the beginning, there's a click track built into the Helix. And so you can set it per preset, which is how I do each song. Each song has a preset. And then each song might have maybe, between 1 and 4 or 5 snapshots. So like a lead tone and a chorus and a verse. So that meant I already have all of these songs set in here. I literally just turn the tempo dial and set the tempo to what we've decided is our tempo. And then, because this has crazy routing options, I can just spit out the metronome out of, say, the left 1/4-inch cable. And then that goes into the mixer as its own channel. And then we can all mix that into our in-ear individually. So if the singer doesn't really want to hear that, he doesn't have to, or it can be maybe low down in the mix. So if he's just playing solo, he can hear it. But like when we're all playing, it kind of fades down. You can change it in the middle, whatever. So it gives us individual control over that, which is cool.
Nice.
And of course, the audience will never hear that.
No, so it's kind of like having your own personal sound person for each of you through a little black box.
That, and because our mixer is digital, we can all pull up our phones, iPad, whatever, and adjust our mix on the fly. Or we usually have a sound person with us and we can ask them to do it, and it's via an iPad as well. So that's really cool. So I was like, I don't know if upgrading to this Helix just to get tap tempo is the most cost effective, but otherwise it could be, because it depends if you want to go with like an Ableton system and do triggers for lights and all that kind of stuff. That needs a whole laptop. We could use a pedal. But again, if it's already built into the preset of my Helix, we were discussing and it's like, it's just done. Like I go to the next song, everything's done. The drummer doesn't have to worry about anything else. No one else does. So I started thinking about that. But then on top of that, there's the showcase feature of this. So not only did this unit get smaller, lighter, get brand new amp models, cab models, way more digital signal processing, you can do way more with it, but they've added a feature called Showcase, which allows you to load up to 8 tracks into it.
Ooh.
So if you were a solo performer, you could go into your DAW like Logic, and you could record or get backing tracks of drums, guitar, bass, piano, whatever. And then you could have those play back from the Helix and just sing and play guitar over it. And on the fly, you could say, okay, I don't need the bass because the bass player's here today. And you can mute the bass. And if you think about all the permutations of that, you could have a guide track. So let's say you're a solo artist, but sometimes you have session musicians come in. You've got a new bass player. Well, you could record a scratch vocal track that's just you talking, going, here comes the chorus, it's in E, remember to vamp here, etc., as the bass player is rehearsing with you, because maybe you only get 2 rehearsals before the show, and then you can just mute that track or delete it or whatever. For us, it would also be, I could literally record all of the parts that are synths, that are pianos, that are whatever, and play those back live. And it'll obviously be synced to the tempo. So that's really cool.
That's impressive. And handy.
And then what really took it over the edge is that you can set flags in showcase mode. So what that means is when the chorus comes, you can make things happen. So one of the things that it can do is it can change the snapshot on the Helix automatically when the chorus hits. Meaning I don't have to touch the board during the entire song. It will automatically switch. Now, for some songs, that's overkill. Like we play some Green Day songs, I basically never change my tone. But for Danny California by the Chili Peppers, I have all 5 snapshots set and I'm individually turning off 2 other pedals. So it's a tap dance the entire song. And I don't really get to enjoy playing these really fun parts because I'm literally like standing right next to this thing because I have to quick jump to different sections. And with this showcase mode, it will literally, it's like having a guitar tech stepping on your pedals for you.
That's awesome.
And then the final thing is that I can set a flag, and we don't have this set up yet, but since our singer is a wedding DJ and he has lighting rigs, we can loop that into the lighting rig, and the lighting rig can change depending on the flag that's set as well.
So definitely worth it.
Absolutely. So when we started looking at all the other options that would do this, it just made sense for me to move to this, sell the other one, take a little bit of the band money to put into this. And we haven't tried it yet, but I have obviously been experimenting and it works perfectly. So I lined up a song, I had a scratch guitar part in there, and then I had myself just doing a kind of guide to say, hey, here comes the chorus, 1, 2, 3, 4 chorus. And it played back fine and it was great. And then again, I can send that to its own channel. And so we can all mix that into our in-ears and out to the crowd per track. So not just all 8, you can go, okay, we want this synth sound to go out to the audience, but not the guide track.
That's wow. That's wild. That
It is
absolutely wild. And it's so small and compact, and it's doing all these things that make the crowd enjoy the song more, because everyone's like, oh, I can't wait for that guitar part, drum solo, fill, whatever it is, or this certain nostalgic audio snippet. And you guys are like, watch this with minimal effort on stage. So yes, there's a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes, but I don't know if it's a one and done thing, but I can't imagine you'd have to reprogram that in once it's in the machine. You're like, all right, we have 3 shows in a month. We can just run the same set list or run the same songs. We don't have to reprogram anything.
Yeah, it is a big lift up front for some things.
Yeah.
But once I was done, it's done. And so 2 things about that. One, we have experimented with it a little bit. We have an iPad app that can trigger samples. And I think the only thing we did was there's a little kind of filter sweep drum intro for Teenage Dirtbag. Just runs for a couple bars. And we just did that once. And people were immediately like, yeah, I know that song. Yeah, and like the drummer could play that, but we can't do this filter sweep crazy thing live easily. Whereas if we just play the sample, we can. And the second part is I went to see a 90s-ish cover band. And there's actually some pretty like decent / semi-famous musicians in this group.
Like who?
I'm not talking about them specifically because while the show was good, there were multiple times as I'm standing there looking at, definitely through a slightly different lens than the regular crowd, where there were iconic things that even though it was a five-piece at least band, I did not hear, they did not do. Even like little rhythmic things where like there was a certain song where the first 3 times it's played straight and then the last one has a little bit of a syncopation thing that we do because that's what's in the song, and it just wasn't there. And I know that, okay, yes, I'm noticing it because I'm analyzing, hey, I play this song. Are you playing it the same as I do? Should I change what I'm doing? You know, does it sound like the record? But I also feel you hit the nail on the head where when we feel we are nailing it and we're trying to get it close to what we think it should sound like, whether it's original music or covers, the audience will enjoy it more if we're enjoying it and putting on the best show that we can.
Right.
So I felt like the little bit of sloppiness, like that doesn't, there's no reason for it. It's like you can't miss a syncopated part. That doesn't. So we're taken to the next level where it's like, hey, we want this drum intro to sound you know, like it.
Authentic,
and it's not all good. We're not going to nail everything for sure.
No.
But this takes it up to the next level and makes me feel like, okay, we're trying to get as close as we can. And I get to step away from the board a little bit. I spend way more time up front, but then hopefully all goes well and I can just stand back and it will switch for me. And you know what? Things are going to go wrong. I'm not naive.
And that's okay.
You know,
and that's okay.
Exactly. Because I can just switch to a blank preset that just has an amp and some effects in it and just use that. And I will say it was really funny during the show. anything can go wrong, right?
Mhm.
Somehow our singer twice dropped things that landed right on the power switch of our Furman power bar and knocked out all the power to our pedal boards.
No.
It was so funny. It was like
What
the
did he-
first
what
the
did he
first
drop?
time was this little, because he has a little tray that he has and then an iPad stand, and he had like a like, I don't know if it was Mio brand, you know, like the drink mix stuff
Yeah.
that's kind of like Kool-Aid but it has electrolytes in it. He had that he was like putting in his drinks, and that fell. And then the second time we have like these neon colored sunglasses that we wear and sometimes we throw out to the crowd, and a pair of those fell onto, like, you know how like
Precise
direct,
you have to be.
precise that has to, it's just like
it happened
boom.
twice.
Yeah, and both times in between songs somehow.
Oh,
Because these things take a while to boot. This one takes even longer, right? It's a computer. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're putting gaff tape over that power thing next time.
Yeah.
And so things will go wrong. Things go wrong with guitars and amps too, though. So honestly, this has inside way more complexity, but now I just have one thing. So the other thing is I did write down somewhere the weight difference, but remember I had the original Helix, but it was also on a pedal train board, and I had 4 other pedals because I had one that was doing a drum sound, and I had this and that to do like a synth sound and all of that. But now I just have this unit, and it's only, I think, 12 pounds or something.
That's
So I'm
not
pretty
bad.
sure it went from like 30 some pounds or close to that to like 12, and I got the backpack for it as well.
Oh,
So fully into the digital lifestyle. Though the other day I looked at amps for some reason. Stupid, bad Matt.
And,
But,
and anything catch your eye?
it was because I was watching, it might have been Andertons or one of those YouTube channels that are fantastic, and they were testing some like overdrive / like just kind of boost pedals, and they were using an Orange head and cab, but like the small one that Orange makes right now.
Yeah.
And I've realized that I really, really, really like that sound. And famously, Tragically Hip, one of their guitar players, if not both at some point, used Orange amps. So if I can't get that, white whale 50s Fender little guy, I think maybe that little head and that little cab could be mine someday if I ever had a place to put it. But
You can find space, Matt. Come on.
That's
not the hurdle here.
Not at this. Yesterday I came home with this Yeti loadout box for camping. I have to find a place for that. So no, I have too many hobbies. It's getting ridiculous. So this has really helped. I mean, this thing is so tiny. It's fantastic. So that is my my recent guitar journey, and next episode we'll talk about our favorite use of guitar effects.
Deal. So shall we jump over to the wonderful world of cars?
Cameras is supposed to be next, but if you want to be a rebel,
yeah, I feel like breaking the law.
Let's break the law. Let's talk about cars.
All right, so roof racks is where it's at, because people put a ton of stuff, sometimes rightfully, sometimes maybe shouldn't have, but thankfully there are lovely, lovely tools out there like roof racks, and Thule makes a bunch, and there's a bunch of aftermarket things, and there's actual OEM manufactured side of things. I think as long as it's secured properly, and it's something that doesn't bend in your hand, I think you're okay. What do you have, or I guess what have you used in the past?
Well, it's interesting because I have way too much to say about this topic, and I'm cognizant that I just talked a lot in the last segment. But because when I first bought kayaks, I think it was like 2018, previously I'd never attached a single thing to the top of my vehicle. I was not into outdoor stuff. I didn't need a cargo box, maybe a Christmas tree once, So bought the kayaks, got a great deal. Actually, looking back, crazy deal. Costco always has like one kayak model in stock, pretty much, unless they run out. So if you go to Costco and they're not sold out, you're gonna see a Pelican kayak. It's gonna be around, I think these days, like $500. Comes with a paddle. It's like very similar model. They never have like a huge double one and like 3 options. It's like, this is our kayak. So I remember going to the Costco in in Dartmouth, I think it was, maybe in Halifax, and there's two of them. And I saw the kayak there, and it was like $3.99. I'm like, that's a pretty good price. We had just rented kayaks, realized we wanted to buy them. And then I went to the other Costco because the other one didn't have something. And it was $2.99 for the exact same kayak, this store only. And I'm like, okay, doing it. Bought it. Managed to get one in the van because my partner at the time had a minivan, and then one up on the roof. Very sketchy.
But it made it home eventually.
But it made it home. And then I started thinking, okay, I need a way to officially attach these to the van, but also to my car, which didn't even have anything on top of the car at all. And so I contacted a local company and I got a quote. And I immediately thought, oh my good Lord, that is a lot of money. I know nothing about this industry. And as I look everything up, it's very expensive. So I offered trade and said, do you guys need any photo, video, social media, whatever? And they're like, we absolutely do. Let's talk. And so I've actually continued to have that relationship. I ended up shooting their wedding. They become friends. So this little company called Rackology in Halifax, if you're in Nova Scotia, go there. They'll take care of you. They install everything and they know their stuff because this is all they do.
Nice.
So I've gotten an education because one of the first videos we did, I literally went through the whole process of how they install and like what everything is. What I've realized is that I think this is a lot like tires.
Yeah.
You can cheap out on tires, but at the end of the day, that's what's connecting you to the road. And if you drive a lot and if you drive in anything but sunny, dry conditions on nice roads, bad things could happen.
1,000,000%.
Really bad things sometimes, tiny little baby bad things sometimes. But the point is, you don't have to spend a lot of money based on your use case. There are people who only need to put their kayaks on their car twice a year and they're driving 50 kilometers. You can probably cheap out. And like you said, if you grab it and you say that's not going anywhere, it's not going to go anywhere.
As everyone should say before they get in the car, it'll shake. Yep, that's not going anywhere.
For everyone else, I would encourage you to look at some of the, yes, more expensive, but there's a reason that they're more expensive options.
Because you always get what you pay for. Always.
100%. So there's three companies that I have experience with. So you mentioned Thule, which, by the way, I never knew how to say that word. I didn't know
Thule.
Thule.
Laughed at. Yeah, so I'm like,
it's got to be Thule. It's Thule. They're Swedish. And the other one is Yakima. So I've learned how to say that. And what's funny is that a lot of people might have these on their car and not know it because a lot of companies OEM them. So it might say a brand on it, like your car brand, but you can go to the website and see that, oh yeah, that's just a Yakima roof rack that they OEM'd.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how big they are in the business. And that's why it basically comes down to those two companies. The other one is Kuat, but they just make mostly like bike racks and stuff. And those are the three main ones that Rackology carries. So that's why I know them. So when it comes to roof racks, first of all, they're not really, I guess like that's the overall system, roof rack, but really it's feet and crossbars. So the bars, crossbars, those are the things that go across. And then how it attaches to the car is normally called a foot. And a lot of SUVs and even some of, crossover and cars will have raised rails already that kind of run the length of the roof. So that's one style of foot that attaches to that. If you have a bare car roof, you need a different style foot that connects and kind of goes under where the door opens a lot of the time. There are cars that make it very difficult, and I think you might own one.
I own
to attach things.
I own a coupe, so it's a short roof. It's a very slanted roof. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a custom job to get it done. And I don't have any rails or feet existing because it's the sportiest thing that Honda put out in 2004. We are now 22 years later. And even the modern Honda Accord has something. I think almost every car has even like the lowest of feet, but it's there because they're like, well, let's give them a little bit and then just get them to buy out the part for it from our parts department. Because I can't think of, in the mainstream world, I can't think of a car right now that doesn't have something that's somewhat prepped in advance for a roof rack, roof box, roof something system.
Yeah. So the raised rails make it really easy. So you can go into both of these sites, Thule and Yakima, and you can put in your exact car. It has most. There are a few, sometimes that it doesn't, and it'll tell you exactly what you need. It's not the Bible because they're going to tell you what fits. But some people might want longer bars because you might want to fit a roof box and a bike or whatever. They will stick out. You might smash your head on it, but just know that that's not the be all end all. Like you can, like I think mine were 50-inch and some people use a 53 on a cross track just to get that little bit of extra.
Yeah, and whether it's if you've got two kayaks or like you said, a kayak and a roof box, it's kind of a mix and match thing. And you can't do an extension of it once it's already mounted, right? You can't say, oh, well, go gadget 3-inch extender, right? Like, so.
And then there are all the things that you attach to. So that's a good segue because the Santa Fe has a wider roof than the Crosstrek, and those are our two vehicles. We actually have a Yakima Canoe attachment. So it's these 4 rubberized feet. And they fit great on the Santa Fe. And they're rubberized and they're angled a little bit. And if you think about the kind of dimensions and the shape of a canoe, if you've got something that's angled and it's holding it here, it can't move back because the canoe gets wider as it goes, and then it gets wider the other way, so it can't go forward. So yes, you can just put it on bare racks and it'll totally be fine, but this just adds a whole other level of stability. But because of where the feet attach to my Crosstrek, the canoe thing doesn't fit. Because where it would need to be for the canoe is right where the roof, the raised rail is. So you have to think about those kinds of things. I also have a Yakima. It's called the JayLow kayak holder. So a lot of kayak holders are J-shaped.
J hooks. Yeah.
But this one can also go vertical. And then you can attach another kayak to the side. It's going to just sit on your racks, but it gives you that little bit of space rather than having 2 sets of kayak racks.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. And the ones I have, they do the J thing, they do the up thing, and they fold flat when I'm close in front of the mic. Sorry, but so it's versatile, and they're Thules. And I traded a set of winter tires for them, brand new out of the box. I'm like, all right, this seems pretty fair.
Nice. That'll work.
Yeah.
I also have the Thule UpRide, which is a bike carrier, and it holds to the name, it holds the bike upright, and you don't need to remove your tire, and it doesn't touch the bike frame at all. It's just pressure mount on the tire and then a little loop that goes around the bottom of the other tire. So it doesn't touch the frame. You don't have to take the wheel off, and it's really secure. And then the last thing, we have a giant Thule cargo box. It's like the XXL, to the point where I can't even open the trunk of my Crosstrek unless I move the bars. And so I've got a couple pieces of advice for folks. First of all, you can remove your crossbars and your feet when you're not using them. For a lot of people, they're only going to use them maybe in the summer. But either way, if you're not using it regularly, I would encourage you to take them off, because you think about what they're going through. All of that sun and UV, rain, freeze, thaw, rocks, all that kind of stuff. And they very much can negatively impact fuel economy.
A ton.
So some people will say, they'll go to the website and go, well, the square ones are $300 cheaper than these. Like I have the Wingbar Evos, right? And they're very they kind of are shaped like a plane wing if you look at the side. And yes, you could save money. But man, your fuel economy is going to suck, and it's going to make a lot of noise. So something that people may not think about. And then there are multiple ways that they can attach. So the Thules that I have and the Yakimas I used to have, they have a T-bolt system. So running the length of the crossbar, there's rubber, and from the end, you slide this bolt through, and then it attaches that way. So you tighten this bolt. Otherwise, it's a clamp over system, which is fine, except all of these bars are shaped differently. So your attachment might not actually sit on the bar perfectly. And so that's why the T-bolt system, it's going to be nice and solid. And the last thing I'll say is buy locks.
Always, 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 always.
Now, I found on sale a set of 4 of the Thule ones for like $60. They're normally, I think, $100. Like, they're not cheap.
No.
But for most folks, particularly if you're only putting them on a little bit, like a few days a year, you can go on Amazon, whatever, and you can buy a set for like $12. And they're cheap. They're probably not going to last if someone tampers with them or anything like that, but it is the illusion of safety. And most people will look at that and think, I'm not going to try and break that cylinder and rip those off.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like putting up a video camera. You're under video surveillance sign when there's no camera. It can turn people off. The real ones are not that expensive, but I mean, if you're paying $700 for crossbars and feet, adding another 100, it can seem like a lot, but I think it's worth it. And then that those are that much more secure. You can also get locks for some of your attachments. So my bike thing has a lock option that you can lock a part of it so it can't be opened or closed without a key. So definitely look into that, because if you're spending that much and you're trying to protect your stuff, especially if you're like traveling and you're going to be parking somewhere for a while, it might be worth looking at.
Definitely worth looking at. So
my I'll repeat, if you've got a local shop that does this stuff, just go there. It's going to pay dividends. You're going to know that you're getting what you need, and they're going to be able to install it, troubleshoot, especially if you've got a bit of a weird car like Jay.
Still love it. Still quirky. So, all right, that's 2 out of 3. What's up in the camera world, Mr. Corkum?
Well, in the notes, it says we're talking about manual versus automatic.
There's a time and place for both, and I know that people who use automatic sometimes unfairly get labeled as button pushers because the camera's doing all the work. And my defense of that is, well, let it. It's got so much more intuitive settings that are activated on the automatic setting that sometimes you just need to point and shoot. Right? Like if it's just a couple of quick shots, but you want something that's a little different than an iPhone or a smartphone, then sure. But if you're really, really deep in the woods or the weeds or whatever it is, and you need to get like really a precise setting, then sure, go to manual. But I think automatic can serve a lot more purpose and do it well than people give it credit for.
I never asked you this question because we just left it as manual versus automatic, but I think there's 2 discussions. There is autofocus, manual focus, and then there is auto exposure, manual exposure.
Right.
I don't manually focus. Very rarely do I manually focus anymore. The only time I can think is like if I have it on a tripod and I'm doing a video and I'm just trying to keep, and I really want to make sure that I'm nailing it and it's exactly where I want, maybe I will do manual focus, but most of the time I'll just move my focus point exactly where I need to and do autofocus. And I really, at this point, for me, don't see a point of doing anything manual focus because it just increases the chances I'll miss it. It doesn't give me any more control, really. Because there are so many focus points now. I used to manually focus a lot with some previous cameras where I only had like 18 focus points. It's like I could only get so close. Yeah. Now I have basically, I don't know how many there are, like 108 or something on one setting. And then
it's a crazy number.
Yeah. Now for manual versus auto exposure, I do everything manually.
Oh, okay.
And I have since my 5D Mark III because I had every control I needed available easily. All my previous cameras, I had to go into a menu to change something, whether it was ISO or white balance or whatever. And at this point, I can, whether it was a 5D Mark III or now my Fuji cameras, especially the X-T5, I can change everything. White balance is like a button and then up or down a couple right there because I have it tied to a button on the back. So I don't have to go into any actual menus to change anything. And I guess I just find that I'm rarely in situations where things are changing so rapidly that I can't just do it manually.
Interesting.
I will say probably, I'm just trying to think. I bet there are some weddings where I would do auto during a ceremony if it was outside with mix of cloud and sun. Because as someone's coming down the aisle, if a cloud comes over quickly, it could drop it by 3 stops.
Yeah,
right?
and that's
And
a
then
lot.
it's a lot. So I probably have used it in those instances with like crazy changing light, but otherwise I don't. And I can't tell you why. I think maybe I'm a control freak and I know what I want.
Fair.
But I do think it comes from a bit of baggage. Because I remember my first camera where I could set something. It was a Kodak like point and shoot, but a fancy bigger one. And I could set some things to be automatic. Like I was definitely doing aperture priority, right? It's like, okay, I want a wide open, always aperture. So you figure out everything else. But then there were no controls as to the extremes of what it could do. And I remember one of my Rebels did this as well. So what that meant was, okay, yeah, you always want it wide open. You got your nifty 50 on there. Well, the camera decides I'm going to go to ISO 12,800, or the shutter speed is going to be 1/10 of a second. And then I would be getting blurry photos because it's going to extremes that I can't control. If I was manually controlling it, I would have locked that at like 1/60th of a second or faster so that I didn't get any blur. And then I would have been able to hopefully rescue that, the raw file, bring it up a little bit in post. So I think that's where it comes from, is like I didn't have that control until I got like the 5D Mark III especially. So years and years and years of like fighting with it, I was like, screw it, I'm doing it myself. I'm going to set all the settings. I know what the minimum aperture, minimum shutter speed I want to not have any like motion camera blur. I'm usually shooting close to wide open if it's like an indoor thing. Yeah. So that's where it's at. But obviously it's gotten so much better that I could probably relinquish a bit of more of control.
Would you? Or are you so entrenched in it because you've been doing it for so long that you'd miss the action and maybe muscle memory and just habit of dialing things in yourself?
I think the other baggage that comes with it is a lot of people, including myself, still don't know how their camera meters. And I would really have to dive and do testing to make sure that it's metering the way that I want, that I can trust that it's automatically going to change the exposure settings appropriately. Because that was the other thing with using auto exposure modes. The metering was like tied to the focus point and it was either center weighted or it was spot or whatever. And then that could change drastically if you were off by just a little bit, right? Like if you're focused on someone's face as they're walking down the aisle and then it just drifted to like their hair that's in the sun, well, all of a sudden it's super dark.
Yeah.
Because the blonde hair was way brighter than maybe like their face that had some makeup on it or whatever. And that's just like a subtle difference. So I think I probably will not do it because it would take me so much more time to really play with it and make sure that it's going to do what I want, that I'm already getting all the results that I like by doing it manually. And that muscle memory is very quick because as I'm shooting, I can see through the viewfinder, right? It got dark. Just switch that a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know though if I was teaching someone photography right now, would I tell them to just trust the auto? Is there a point in learning the manual stuff anymore? Depends on what you're going to do with it.
In a way, we can bring this back to the guitar side of things. And I think we've had this discussion, I think it'd be episode 1 or 2, about is it important to learn theory over shapes of chords? I will always say there's a value in learning theory because the how and why will impact you, even at a 1 or 2% level, that you don't know when that 1 or 2% will be called upon, that you will need to go, okay, well, a B minor to a D is just a minor third versus the major. And the same thing on the camera side. Okay, well, I'm trying to take a picture of a wheel of a car, but it keeps getting blown out. Why is it so light when the tire is dark? Oh, well, I'm going to just quickly flip some settings on the exposure and flip it from A to M, right? You could, and it's just having that even a baseline knowledge of how your camera works and how the pillars of photography work. And you won't use it every single time, but if you don't have it, then either you lose your shoot, you skip the shot, and you go home feeling frustrated. And, well, that's kind of hard to get over sometimes.
I just realized that my camera doesn't have the PASM. It doesn't have that dial. So some of the Fujis are literally set up to be operated manually. Each individual control can be set to auto on the dial, though, which is kind of nice because I'm like, okay, I do not care what the aperture is. Just make sure that the shutter speed stays fast enough to capture motion. I can set that to auto for aperture, and everything else is set. So that's kind of cool. But then there are still lots of cameras that have that dial. It's interesting because I just had a discussion. I second shot a wedding for a friend. I'm actually waiting for him to come and pick up a card today. And I had my Fuji rig doing lots of B-roll. I had one camera set up to get a different angle the whole wedding. This is video. And there was a lot of waiting. It was like a big rush for one thing, and then you kind of are just waiting for people to get ready and stuff. And, you know, weddings have this weird ebb and flow. Some are just insane the whole time. Some are like, okay, we got this done. Chill out for an hour. This was a chill out for an hour situation. So you've got two videographers and two photographers, like just trying to find things to shoot. And there was this really cool classic car that they were driving away in, and I totally forget what kind of car it was right now. And then there was a really nice pathway that went up into this barn because it was at a farm. And I didn't have my stabilizer with me. And so I started with the Fuji, like kind of trying to do, you know, a slow-mo or whatever. And it was coming out fine. It would have been fine. He could have stabilized it in post. And then I just pulled out my iPhone. I have the 17 Pro. And I put it on action mode. And I did both of those moves, including literally walking up steps and a path and going inside and turning. And two things jumped out at me. First of all, it was so stable. It looked like I was not only on like a stabilizer rig, it looked like it was on a freaking crane. It was insane with no wobble. And I showed him and he was like, oh my gosh, like you have to send me that. You know, I might use that in the edit. Like, fantastic. And then what we were having trouble with inside the venue is they were using a bunch of rope lights. And if you've ever tried to take a photo or video when these LED lights are going, what you'll notice is that it's very difficult to find settings where they're all on at the same time, because they're not all on at the same time and they're flashing a bunch of times. I could not get my Fuji to take a video to properly expose those lights. There was always a section that was off.
Clever.
The iPhone, it came in and all of a sudden it automatically, I tapped to adjust exposure. I had it locked and then I tapped to adjust it again and everything lit up and the lights were perfect.
So once we're done, I would love to see that clip.
I will absolutely send it to you. Yeah.
Or if you want to just splice it into this part of the conversation, like, and this is just 17 Pro, like not just, but like it's still a phone.
And then he told me there's these two women who do video here, and I don't know if they switch completely, but they will shoot entire weddings with iPhones now. You've got stabilization built in. You can shoot in log. You can actually shoot in ProRes if you attach an external hard drive. And seeing that automatic exposure fix all of the things that I couldn't even do with a fairly expensive big camera was very eye-opening, and it raised a lot of questions inside of me.
Same. So I'm still rocking a 13 from 5-ish years ago. And I just don't, I didn't up until now-ish see any value in upgrading or changing. I'm like, this still does everything I want it to, but I don't know, like the number of shaky hand shots that I've had to spend too much time in post settling down. I do a lot of social stuff for the car stuff and travel stuff, and I've got stable-ish hands, but if a machine can do it better and give me a better result, then, again, if these two women are shooting entire weddings that you can't redo on iPhones, like that's just a lot.
There's two settings or features that would make you upgrading worth it. And the first is action mode that I was talking about. So action mode does stabilization in the default camera app, but it doesn't do it while you're recording. So as you're recording, it kind of looks shaky. And then immediately as it's saving it, it does the stabilization. And it is rock solid. It is crazy. Look up videos on YouTube of it, because look up Stalman. When it first came out, he did this, which looked like kind of a hyperlapse. He had kind of locked in on a statue and then moved around it. And it was like so dead perfectly stable. It was great. And because of that stabilization option, it's also now built into some apps like they have Final Cut Pro Camera, and then there's Filmic, and then there's Kino, and Blackmagic has a camera, I think, as well, an app. I think that's the one that I use. I have too many apps. And they will actually do stabilization live in their camera apps and allow you to shoot not only log, but ProRes if you really wanted to go crazy, which I know for social media, you really, really, really don't, because you'll run out of space immediately. But that's how advanced things are getting, including shooting open gate with the 17 Pro. It's wild. So it has really changed things, because I absolutely love my Fuji camera, and I love the colors that I can get purely even just with the JPEGs. And I love some of the video features, but at this point, I've been leaning more on my iPhone for video than my giant Fuji rig.
Interesting. Well, I'm due for something, and this December will be 6 years for the same phone. Again, it does everything I needed to. I've shot travel videos and car videos and things around the city with it without any issues. But if I can save time by not muddling around in post with the extra stabilization and not having to carry around a gimbal or whatever it is, then I think Christmas for me, to me, from me, by me, might include a 17.
I think that if you, especially if you got a Pro phone, because of the extra lenses and some of the extra video features, that would make a really great episode after you used it for a couple weeks and put it through its paces. Because if even year over year, you could go, I'm probably not going to notice a big difference. But I have had, because of like my partner getting a phone and me getting work phones, I have had the 15, 16, and 17 Pro. And even between each of those, I noticed massive improvements in camera stuff. So it will be like you in Shawshank Redemption, coming out, getting out of jail and going, everything moves so fast.
Yeah.
Like massive difference for video.
Okay. Well, let's pencil that in for January of 2027.
Perfect.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for episode 9. Next episode is double digits, so pretty big one.
And we will talk about guitar effects. So we've each chosen some of our favorite uses of certain guitar effects in songs, and I'm going to try to play them during the episode.
Cool.
I'm not sure how that all will end up working with, copyright and stuff, but other podcasts have songs on them, so we're gonna try it out.
Yeah, let's see what happens with that. We're on social media, and we would love to interact with you there. We are on the Facebooks, we are on the Instagrams, and tag us, ask us questions. Tell us one of us has great hair and the other one has a great smile, even though they're both matte, but whatever. I'll take some compliments too.
And I'll put in, we are also on Threads, even though we weren't
Yes.
for a little bit, but that's
Yeah,
where we hang out most of the time.
and Threads is so far the best social platform of the year. More on that later. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you for episode 10.